Welcome to the Fair Lawn Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight and Networking. My name is Alan Cohen. I'm on the board of directors for the Fair Lawn Chamber of Commerce, and I really appreciate this opportunity to get to speak to our local businesses, introduce them to the chamber and to the community at large. I am also the managing director of Living Great Real Estate here in Fair Lawn. Together with my wife, Evelyn, we run a boutique real estate agency. I also run a music company called ACM Records that's been in the business well over 25 years, and we specialize in licensing music to TV and film and represent artists from all over the world. So it is a pleasure to be doing these business spotlights. Today I have a great guest for us today to speak with. Her name is BeAnne DeGuzman. She's the Director of Development for the iLearn schools. Hi, BeAnne. Now you're on. How are you?
Hi, Alan. Good. Is it good afternoon? I think it's good morning.
It's good morning? Yeah, well, it's good morning here. Yes, it is. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you today?
Terrific. Thank you for joining us today. And I want to spotlight the business and, of course, you, who is the Director of Development for this company. So tell us a little bit about iLearn Schools.
Yes. Before that, I want to thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure and it's an honor. I've been waiting to be asked because I know you've been doing this for a long time. So finally, I'm here. So
it's on you. So
So iLearn Schools is a public, nonprofit, public charter. So now we're live. So iLearn Schools is a public, nonprofit public charter management organization. So what we do is we operate public charter schools all over northern New Jersey, and we had just opened one in the Bronx, New York. So we currently have 14 schools, and we are located in Bergen County, in Hudson County, Passaic County. We're in Patterson, Passaic, Clifton, Hackensack, Garfield, Kearney, and we used to have one in Jersey City, but we merged it with Kearney. So we are like a public school, and we our mission is to provide high quality education to our students regardless of their zip code.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. So just for some of the people out there, what is really the difference between a regular public school and, of course, a charter school? Just a little bit of a...
It's actually, there's really no difference, Alan. It's same public school. We're publicly funded. Students can come. The only difference is that the charter schools have more, I would say, autonomy in creating their curriculum and creating the learning environment for our students. Also, our sending districts, our students can come from different towns. So even if our school is located in Garfield, we can receive students from Lodi or from any neighboring districts. But we're actually not much different from them. We're public school, but we also have more, I would say, accountability to the state. We're more accountable because if we don't perform, we close down. So as opposed
You're actually more accountable because obviously a public school is so regulated. You must be regulated also then.
Oh yeah, definitely. Very much regulated. We have standards. So, and we have to meet all those. Financial stability, we have organizational structure, and we have academic results. And if we don't meet one of them, then we go on probation, and then we close down eventually.
How many different kinds of charter schools are there? Are there many in, say, Bergen County, or are you one of the primary ones?
So there's so many. There's about 80 something charter schools all over New Jersey.
Oh,
We're one of the bigger ones. We're one of the bigger charters because we have 15 or 14 campuses. And we also have iLearn Schools is the management organization. We're the charter network. So we have the ability to manage all those schools in one central office. So
right,
what we do here is do the back end support.
right. And the central office?
Right. Yeah, we're located in Fairlawn. We are the backbone of the schools. So the schools, what they do is they only teach. They don't have to do all those support procedures. They don't have to do the hiring, the firing, or financials and curriculum design. So we do it all here in the central office. And then what they do is deliver high quality education in the classroom.
Great. Now, you mentioned this 14 buildings. When did the actual iLearn start? The
It
company?
started back in 2010. So it was in Garfield. And then the Garfield school just kind of expanded. They started as K-2. Then those second graders turned into third graders. Then third graders became fourth graders. So they expanded as they grow. And so now we have two schools in Garfield. We have the elementary, which is K-3, and then the middle school, which is 4-8. And then they expanded to high school in Hackensack. And then,
I mean, you said from 2010 till now you have 14 buildings. That's quite remarkable.
yeah, I think it speaks of the it speaks of the results that we are producing for students, and it speaks of the quality education that we're providing them.
Mhm. That's terrific. So, why would a parent take them out of a regular public school and go to charter or not to a private school? So your funding is from the government, just like
The money follows the student. Yep.
money
Right.
follows the student. And then you mentioned a percent to me before we got online. What is the percentage that iLearn gets for that student?
So when a student or a parent chooses to bring their student to charter school, the money follows the student, right? But it's only 70%. So it's only 70 cents to a dollar. And then the remaining 30 cents stays with the sending district. What happens is, so to go back to your original question, why would a parent send their kids to a charter school? It's all about option. Yeah, I used to send my kid to a private school in Paramus just because I think she would thrive there. And I think that with the environment that she's in, she would just enjoy being there. So it's all about choice. A lot of our parents, or a lot of our students won't necessarily thrive in a traditional public school or in a private school or in whatever type of school. So it's really just all about where the students fit in, because there's really no one, what do you call that? It's not one size fits all, right?
Of course.
So it's just all about options.
Yeah, it's funny. I moved to Fairlawn also from the city. I'm from the city. And when we had our, we have two daughters right now. We came here originally because the schools were supposed to be very good, and they are. We have Radburn School, the Fairlawn, and they're exceptional schools. But we also decided to send them to a private school.
Really? And Fairlawn has a very good public school system.
Very good, and they started out. One started out in the Radburn School, very good, and then by then actually we sent it to a yeshiva. So private.
That was also my concern, Alan, with our kid. We wanted her to have, we're Catholic, and we wanted her to have the foundation of a Catholic upbringing. So that's why we sent her there. So it's really just an option.
It's an option, but of course it costs an exceptional amount of money. That was our first mansion, was getting the kids through school, So it is very expensive, where a charter school is funded by the public, by the government, and it is another option for somebody that might want a little bit more specialized attention for that child. And yet it's not public, which is, like I said, they're very good here. This might be a better option. Now, but if you're working on a 70% budget for
Mhm.
that student, how does that, you know, how does that rate that now you're only really have 70% of the funds to operate and teach that child?
I always think that whatever you have, you really make good use of it, and I think that's what we've been doing. Which has really been very, which has been really very good at handling the finances and very good at finding resources. But apart from that, we also try to fundraise to provide quality programs for our students that they won't necessarily have access to, right?
Right.
So, like for example, we partner with different companies, with Fairlawn Chamber of Commerce companies. You've been very, very helpful. I'm so glad that we're a part of your chamber because
Perfect.
we have received so many help from you guys. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been partnering with companies, we've been partnering with individuals to provide those gaps, you know. So it may not necessarily be money, but it could be volunteer opportunity. It could be mentoring program. One of the companies that we work with, it's a pharmaceutical company. They're providing career networking for our high school students, for those who want to go to a STEM route, which is what we are. We're actually STEAM-based school, and we're also 99%. I would say 100% digital based also. So the students don't bring books; they have it all in their computer or in their tablet. So they have all the books there. Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So there's a few different areas that you just mentioned. So you're a member of the Fairlawn Chamber of Commerce. Since your buildings are in different areas, are you also members of those chambers of commerce?
Mhm. I'm sorry, come again.
I'm saying since you're a member of the Fairlawn Chamber of Commerce, but your buildings are in many different towns around the, Bergen County, are you also members of those chambers of commerce?
So we're only a part of you, Fairlawn Chamber of Commerce for now, and the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce. So
Right.
that's all.
New Jersey is the big one, so I guess you get it all. Do you think it might be beneficial for you're in Garfield one, or just budget-wise now you'd have to join every chamber?
So we try not to. Also, we try to budget our funds. But number two, Fairlawn Chamber of Commerce has also offered a lot of
Sure.
chamber activities anyway. So why pay for that other chamber when we can get whatever we can get from another
Great.
chamber of commerce? Yeah.
So let's before we get into the fundraising, let's talk about the children themselves. What age groups and what grade levels are you?
Yeah. So we provide education to K to 12 students. Yep. So yeah, it's full on K to 12.
Knowledge. Was it always that way? But you said originally when it was in Garfield, it was just.
No, we expand because, as the students, progress to the next level, we needed to provide that environment for them. So we just start from K to 2, and then it goes up to 3, and then 4, and then 5, and 6. So right now, currently, our Bronx school is only K to 2. But the second year, then we will have third graders. So
Right.
that's how it expands.
So-
And as I mentioned earlier, we just had our first graduates from our school who are working right now in the industry. Yeah. So last year was the first year. We actually had one student or one alum who came here and worked for us for at least a year. So that was really exciting for them to come back.
Right.
And at 360 degrees, right?
I'm getting chills.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, it's such an achievement that your company started out small, has 14 buildings, and now you're graduating people and putting them into the real world. It has to be very rewarding for you as the director, of course, but also, for the organization itself to be proud to say, well, we educated somebody all the way through their career, schooling career, and now they're out in the real world. That's really rewarding. That's terrific.
Yeah, that's really it. I can't. You've summed it very well. Yes.
You have a big party, graduate.
Yeah.
Great. So, how many students do you have? First, all together, and then maybe in each school.
Yeah. So in each campus, we probably have an average about 300 students, and for about total would be about 4,500 for all schools.
Well, that's substantial, actually.
It's very substantial, yes. But with the pandemic going on, we're not opening in full capacity. So we're doing hybrid, and I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, I want to touch on that, but before we do that, I just want to say, all right, so you got about 2,500 students. Are the class sizes smaller?
Yes, that's another thing. Yes, it's very small. We have about between 20 to 22 students in the classroom.
So that's a little bit more personalized attention.
That's why we're able to give personalized and customized education to our students.
Great. So, and curriculum-wise, is it compatible with public schools, or can you focus more on the individual students' needs?
I can't speak for the other schools, but I know for our school, we're able to collect data, and that data drives the individualized instruction. So we always focus on the individual's needs or the student's needs. And then based on that, that's how we give instruction to our students. So our data, we always collect data from our students, and that data drives our instruction, individualized instruction in that. So yes.
So now your instructors, obviously, are they generalized, or do you also have, so-and-so as the science teacher, this is the gym teacher, or is it a little bit more?
Yeah, no, they have, in K-3, we have like one teacher for all subjects because they're in elementary, but when they become in middle school, we have one math teacher, one science teacher, so it's more specialized.
Right. That's great. So in that respect, it is kind of like a regular school where they would have, when you're first starting out, so-and-so as the main teacher for the youngsters, but as they go to the physical education, you'll have a teacher.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, as far as those instructors, do you call them professors? Do you just call them teachers?
We call them teachers. We call them Miss or Mr. Cohen, Miss DeGuzman. Yeah, that's how we get addressed by the students.
And what qualifications do they have? Is it a different degree to teach in a charter school than in a public school?
No, the same. They have to have a bachelor's degree, and they have to have the license to teach. Yeah.
So bachelor's degree and then a license for education itself in New Jersey.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then we also have, many of our teachers also have masters and are taking their masters.
Right.
So one of the things that we provide our teachers or our staff is education reimbursement. So they can continue, being a lifelong learner, because, as a teacher, you can't go stagnant, right? So we provide that. We provide professional development for our teachers to grow. So, because once they grow and they become better teachers, the only people who will benefit from that are students.
Right, of course. I remember when I was teaching, I've been teaching maybe about 20 years now. I've always been a professional and entrepreneur running a music company. Then I started teaching music, and I had a degree from Berklee College of Music back in the...
I didn't know that, Alan.
Mainly in the music business, but I only had a bachelor's because I've been a professional for so long. And I was teaching a little bit, but not really. I stayed in the professional world. But then as I got older, obviously I wanted a little bit more steady. So I started teaching, and I always found that without the extra degrees, it was hard to get a full-time position. So I always wanted a master's after that, and I just never did it. And then only about 5 years ago, I was teaching at a school called Institute of Audio Research, and they did exactly what you did. They helped fund. They didn't give all the money, but
Yeah.
they give me a little kickback towards my tuition. So
Yeah.
I went to William Patterson, and I got my master's only about 3-4 years ago. So it was like a 40-year gap of being in school, even though I was teaching now at Ramapo College and
Yeah.
also William Patterson, but to get a higher position, I needed that master's. So it is good that you're really not only helping your students, but you are helping your instructors, your teachers as well, be more educated. Because as you said, times are always changing.
Mhm.
The education is always changing. And what you have to give the student, you have to really stay on top
Yeah,
of what's going on in the world.
that's right. That's
Really
right.
stay fresh, right? Otherwise, you get very stale. And obviously, you're trying to provide the top education.
Right. And in any other company, a lot of, like employees, they stay because they feel loved and they feel, acknowledged by the company, right? And one of the things that a company can do that is, to let them grow, right? Professionally and personally.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's great. All right. So you were talking about some of your fundraisers. What kind of fundraisers do you do to bring in, extra
Yeah,
funds?
so we only have, I don't like a lot of events just because, that it's time consuming and the amount of funds that you get is not usually, higher than the work. So what we kind of do, I only have two major events a year. It varies on the school year. We've done Color Run before. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Color Run. It's like you're running and then there's colors thrown at you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
At a lot of our families, there was.
Why they call it color war? Who knows? Maybe you can't say war anymore. I don't know.
So there was we had 1,000 people on that day. So it was a very successful event. And then the following year, we had our Thanksgiving run, which you were also a part of. Maryland Chamber of Commerce was a part of.
Sponsors.
Tony was a part of it. Himself volunteered. And then we also have our Feast of Giving. So many of our families may not necessarily have the ability or access to a really nice Thanksgiving dinner. So we provide them with a really nice Thanksgiving dinner for our families, and we gather together, our students, their parents, their guardians, their family members, our staff. We all gather together in one big celebration. So those are the big fundraisers. Apart from that, we do sponsorship, and then we just collect individual donors from people who love education.
That's great. Really, it sounds like even though it's growing and growing, it still sounds like a family, not really a family operation, but personalized. And once you're a member, and the parents feel like they're part family of school. So it's maybe a little closer than a big public school in that respect.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. Yeah, everybody knows each other's name.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, before we end, I'd like to know a little bit about your background. How did you get into being the director of development? That's
Yeah. So I've been in the nonprofit industry for about 7 years now. When I moved here, so I started with an education background, actually. So I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I graduated with education as my major. And I taught for about 2 years, and then I realized it wasn't for me. So I became a flight attendant for Saudi Arabian Airlines. I was there for about 5 years, and then I met my husband now. So I moved here about 10 years ago, and I just realized I wanted to work for a cause than for money. So I need the money, but more than needing the money, I just really want to have this fulfillment rather than, just working, every day, trying to make ends meet, right? But so I wanted to work for a cause. So I started working for a nonprofit as a volunteer, and then they had an opening for me. So that was my journey with the nonprofit. I just felt like this is my place and this is where I thrive. And then 5 years after working for that first nonprofit, I just realized I wanted to grow in my career. So I found this job and here I am.
Well, that's terrific. I mean, it's a long way from being a stewardess.
Yeah, but also I was a teacher supposedly, right? But now I'm in the education industry, even though I'm not a teacher, I'm still in the education industry, although different role.
That's fantastic. Well, that's also remarkable because everybody has to work, and as they're growing in their career, obviously you change. And I like what you said. You had to follow your heart more. So it's one thing to be working, and of course, being a stewardess. That's not an easy job.
That wasn't an easy job.
That cannot be an easy job. So. But you want to follow your heart. And I'm sure giving back to the community and working with these children, and like you said, getting one from the beginning and graduating them and putting them in the real world, you get a lot more probably reward from what you're doing now.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. You're right.
That's great. That's great. So the last thing I want to touch on is obvious with the COVID pandemic. Schools are closed. Now they're saying the schools are closed, but if you want to go to a charter school, we'll help fund more to there. So give us a little insight of how it really impacted your school.
Yeah, so I think I remember it very well. That was March 13, I think. That was the second week of March. We already had, we were already talking about what if the schools closed. Right? Can you imagine that we were first week of March, we were already talking about what if the schools closed. So our team gathered, even before the county executive made an announcement, we were already planning, what if the schools close? What are we going to do? Right? So we already had that foresight to think what's going to happen if it's because we were already hearing a lot of bad news about, in Italy and in China. So we already heard about, I think it started in Seattle. So Seattle was already hit by COVID, and it was still kind of coming here. So after that, when we started talking about how we're going to do, because we have the ability and because we're already digital based, we didn't really have a hard time transitioning into a full-time remote. So everything that we're doing is all digital. We already have the platform for digital learning. So what do you call that? 2 days before county executive made an announcement, we were already with our plan. And then Monday, county executive said all schools are closed because there were already so many positive cases. And so we were closed for how many months? From March until July. We didn't let any first staff come in. We didn't let any first students come in. Everything was digital. Everything was remote. Everything, we had a meeting via Zoom. The students were doing a lot of different online platforms. Our teachers were meeting with parents via Zoom also. And everything, again, was remote. And I would say, kudos to our teachers, kudos to our staff, because they were just really able to switch right away, So that happened, and so we were preparing for the school year for upcoming September. What if we don't open? What if we open? So we had our plan ready. So in July, we were able to take off. We were able to take vacation. All of our staff were able to take vacation. I mean, there were some staff who weren't able to, but I would say 90% were able to go to vacation because we were all ready for another remote if needed to.
Right. Wow. So where are you at this point? September is right around the corner.
Yeah, so we're actually open now. Our central office is open for how many weeks now? For about 3 weeks now. Thank God. We have of course, no mask, no entry policy. We have hygiene policy. We have the 6 feet distancing. Our conference room is only able to accommodate 20 people right now. So if we have a big meeting and there's more people, we just do it via Zoom. So you can be in your office, you can be in your school, and then we meet. So we're going to open hybrid this coming school year, but we're also offering full remote as per our state, as per our executive order from the governor. So we can.
So hybrid would be that some of the students are coming back to the facilities?
Yep. So some of the students, so 50% of the students will come to the school, and then it will be asynchronous learning. Our teacher will do a live stream like what we're doing right now. And then the students who will be in the house will be able to listen to the teacher via live streaming. So whatever the in-person students are getting from the teacher, the remote students will also be able to get it. So
it's great that you were already planned for that. I mean, the school, you said all the students are working off their computers. Do they have to buy their own computers, or is that part of, from the funding?
No, we provide it to them.
Because obviously that might be a large expense for families.
Yeah.
So you're a high-tech company.
I would say that. We're very innovative, yes.
Great. No, that's great. Where a public school might not be, all the public schools are not providing computers and virtual, right?
That
so that aspect, you do have, that going for you.
Yeah, that's right.
The last question on that is, how do you really feel that affected the students? I can imagine how it affected it.
Yeah.
How it affected the students that, a 6-year-old or a 8-year-old is not playing with their friend. It's a different kind of camaraderie and, growing experience, not being,
So after during the shutdown, the team sent a survey to our families and our staff, just asking about their social and emotional health, right? Social, emotional, and mental health. And from that data, again, we were able to come up with a task force called the iCare task force. So this task force was designed to be able to help our families get through this pandemic. So what we did is, our teachers are already providing the social, emotional, mental learning, or what do you call that? The social, emotional learning environment for our students. They were already providing that. Even without the in-person, we're still doing remote. We're still making sure that we're connected. Communication has never been so open, before COVID. During pandemic, it was like 24 hours. Parents can reach out to our staff, to our teachers, 24 hours, right? So every day they can just email, and our teachers are just, again, they're just so amazing to, they're already teaching. They're homeschooling their kids, and they're also teaching our students, right? But they're also able to communicate with our parents and with our staff members. We also offered a lot of virtual sessions. So we've given them some live virtual session on how to cope with the pandemic. We also talked to them about financial assistance from our government, any type of help that we could give. We've also given funding to our families who needed it. So we fundraised for that. Lots of individual donors were able to give. We also applied for the New Jersey Pandemic Fund, and we've actually distributed it to our parents. I would say we've helped about 100 families
Wow.
financially. We've also distributed food to our families. Every day they were getting breakfast and lunch.
Wow.
So they come to our school, they pick up their food, and then they leave. If one of our family members couldn't have access to grocery because they were either sick, one of their family members is sick, what we did is we delivered food to them.
Wow.
We delivered food. We also, what else? What else, Alan?
What else? No,
Just
that's terrific. How
we provided loan forgiveness, not loan for, rent forgiveness to our tenants in the building.
in these buildings, yeah,
That was a big
stuff
thing.
that we all had to adjust to it, but we just all had to adjust to it. It's been so hard in every industry. In my industries, I also teach at William Patterson. We went remote right away. I just think, adapting as fast as you can is the key to it. And it's also the key to any business. Being an entrepreneur for myself, it's always having plan B, C, and D all the way to Z ready to go.
Yeah.
So not that you want to get away from your main focus, but, business continuity planning. And I have a PowerPoint presentation that I put online about that, is always planning for the worst, but hoping.
Right. But hope for the best.
Because if you're not planning ahead, something like this could have really affected or impacted your school. But
Right.
you're already doing virtual, which is terrific. And I think that's almost the new norm now anyway.
That's right.
So do you think that's really going to affect the amount of students that you're going to have? Or do you think it's still always going to be this hybrid thing with the company?
I think we're going to do hybrid for now until probably the end of December. We're hoping for the best, but we're always prepared for the worst. So I think for now, this is our new normal, and whatever hits us, we're all ready for that. And I think not just us, I think all of us who have been negatively impacted by this pandemic, we have a new perspective on, just like what you said, right?
On everything, on life itself,
Right. Yeah, it's just changed our perspective. I mean, who would ever imagine that in this lifetime we would ever experience a pandemic like this, right?
That's great.
So we're all prepared, and I think we're all more resilient than ever.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, this has really been enjoyable,
Yeah.
and a really nice conversation and interview today. I'm really glad we had the pleasure to finally do it.
Thank you, Alan, for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping to see all of you again in person.
Great.
So thank you again for having me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. So once again, we have today with us, we had BeAnne DeGuzman, Director of Development of the iLearn schools here in Bergen County. They are a charter school. I like to say it's been a pleasure to see you and talk to you today again, BeAnne. So my name is Alan Cohen. I am on the board of directors for the Fair Lawn Chamber of Commerce, and I like to thank them for the opportunity to interview and do these business spotlights for the businesses in our community, and now for the world at large to see on Facebook. So it was great. I am Alan Cohen. I am the managing director of Living Great Real Estate and the owner of ACM Records here in Fairlawn. I want to thank everybody, and once again, please be safe. Thank you again, BeAnne.
Thank you.
Signing.
Bye now. Bye, everyone.